National Cable Television Association is meeting in Las Vegas this weekend, and the hot topic this year is satellite dishes. If there's not one in your neighborhood, the chances are there soon will be. People are buying them at a rate of $40,000 a month. Now, in a sense, dishes are video vacuums pulling hundreds of television channels out of the sky. But beyond that, dish owners see things that they are not supposed to see. For example, a few months ago, I ran into Apollo astronaut Gene Cernan and his partner in Washington, and they said, "We watch you on Thursdays," and I said, "Thank you." And they said, "We don't mean 2020. We mean beforehand, when you're sitting there talking to Barbara." Well, I was astonished, but the answer is satellite dishes. So I acquired a dish, and after it was installed and functioning, I began to look into the power and impact of satellite dishes. It started with Sputnik, a blip in the sky, and soon the space age begot the satellite age. Man-made moons began rotating about the Earth, linking us through the sky, enabling communications of a type only visionaries dreamed of.
We've gone for main engine start. We have main engine start.
It was the space program that used them first. Then the military uplinked, and soon business came on board.
From ABC, this is World News Tonight.
Zoom in, please, Greg. Good evening.
Then TV news began relying on what we called the birds to bring the pictures back home. As kids, we only imagined the possibilities. As hobbyists, some of us began to tinker and build our own. For years, the technology was high-tech and high-priced. For most of us, out of reach, up there. Well, not anymore. It is now down here. Recently in Las Vegas, 15,000 dealers and manufacturers jammed a trade show devoted entirely to selling satellite dishes. Big dishes, small dishes. Some even used dishes to sell dishes. In 1979, there were only a few hundred Earth stations in private hands. Today, 1 million Americans own them. The sky is the limit. Space has become the place.
We're projecting this industry this year to be a $2 billion industry. Now, you're talking about an industry that hasn't been around very long. I don't know many industries in this country that have had that kind of explosive growth.
You can see that growth sprouting like wild mushrooms all over the United States. From the poorest of our Indian reservations to the roofs of fancy New York penthouses. Some of us attach them to mobile homes. Satellite dishes are beginning to dot the third world as well. Satellite television also solves reception problems in remote areas. And in spite of how it might appear, they are all easy to operate, as I found out when I had a dish installed at my desert home 6 months ago. I can't say this Earth station has changed my life, but it has given me a lot of viewing options I never had before. Just by rotating the dish, I can get 14 different satellites, each with 24 channels. The clicking channels tell the story. The opportunity to have access to more TV choices than most of us ever thought possible, including transmissions not meant for public consumption.
I think the entire broadcast industry, and the cable industry especially, was just totally blindsided by this phenomenon.
Les Brown is the Dean of America's TV Writers.
The satellite dish is fulfilling the promise that cable didn't fulfill or hasn't fulfilled so far. Promise of being a cornucopia, of really opening television to vast numbers, vast choices.
And as the word got out, demand went up, and the cost came down. Some systems are available now for under $1,000. They used to cost 10 times as much. And it is legal to own a dish to receive regular cable TV programming. Satellite technology itself is getting simpler. Television signals are broadcast or uplinked to satellites rocketed into an orbit above the equator. Each satellite can receive and then retransmit a number of signals at the same time. And people with dishes can then tune them in with home receivers and channel converters. They are people like the Concilios, who live here in Brooklyn, New York, where cable has yet to penetrate.
I wanted it for all the sports, and I rationalized for my kids it would be great to watch Walt Disney all the time, and my wife said okay for the movies. We'd come home from work, and we'd have to look up in the guide, and there would be like 35 different movies to watch. You really have to go crazy just to make a decision, say, I feel like watching this tonight.
Andy's system cost about $3,000, and he says the family now watches more TV than ever. And he's become a hero of sorts in the neighborhood.
Last year, for example, during the hockey playoffs, all of my friends, people who I didn't even know were friends, decided to call me up and come over just to watch all of the hockey games.
Satellite TV viewers often brag that they get to see what ordinary viewers don't.
We would see, for example, Peter Jennings clearing his throat, rehearsing what he was going to say while it was not on the air.
Good evening. It is beginning.
Sometimes that can lead to misunderstandings.
Well, I've heard about the people who saw the ABC news rehearsals for the elections 2 days ahead of the elections and thought the elections were rigged.
This is a secret plan for doubling, if not tripling, the taxes on the people of the state of New York.
People who are on television who are always perfect, all of a sudden are making mistakes and sneezing or coughing, things that you'll never see while they're on the air.
It humanizes it.
Definitely, no question about it.
There's more news to be seen with other attitudes and accents. With this dish on a Columbia University roof overlooking New York, students get to see the news that the people in the Soviet Union get to see. Maverick inventor Ken Schaefer designed the system for educational purposes, but he says the age of global viewing may not be far off.
I'd like to see young kids get the thrill of turning their daddy's satellite dish from the southwest to the northeast and watching the TV that's coming from another country in another hemisphere.
With setups like the one at Columbia, you can literally tune in the world.
One day, maybe 5 years from now, people will accept it as commonplace that you turn on the TV and you can watch CBS on 2, and you can watch Moscow on 3. With a satellite system, you can do that today.
And today, there's also sex in the sky. Uncensored programming like the Ecstasy Channel brings X-rated fare into at least 200,000 homes. It helps sell satellite TV.
They bought the dish for what I call extra television, and this is what sex channels are: extra television.
Paul Klein, a former NBC program chief who runs the advertiser-supported 4-hour nightly channel, says that there is no censorship yet, although there have been some complaints.
The people who don't want it say it for the people who do want it. The people who don't want it don't want the people who do want it to have it. And that's normal. Most people don't want their neighbor to have something that they don't want. But people do. People who want the sex channels want it.
Gotta go.
Well, not everyone wants you to have everything. Pay TV movie channels, and even the 3 networks, say they don't want people tapping into their signals. So they are experimenting with scrambling systems, which may or may not work, and may lead to illegal descrambling counter systems. This threat, so far, has not dissuaded the people making or buying satellite dishes. The industry hopes to secure a law that will allow viewers to pay to see scrambled channels.
For those people that are interested in the channels that would scramble, by law, they will have to make decoders available to the consumers that want them at a reasonable price.
And what about viewers like Andy Concilio? Are they worried?
It's a laugh. Big deal. If HBO decides to scramble, there'll still be another 145 channels to watch, plus regular TV. So what's the big deal?
Yeah. If you're thinking of buying a dish, you might want to consider these tips that the experts shared with us. First, get with a reputable dealer, one with a track record, and one who'll do a site survey and a signal strength test to be sure that reception is not interfered with where you want to put your dish. And second, check with local ordinances and deed restrictions. Some communities consider the dishes unsightly, and they restrict where you can locate them. And you wouldn't want to block a neighbor's view of the sky. So if you decide to go for it, good luck to you. We'll be right back.